So I want to welcome you to Psych 320, Industrial Organizational Psychology. This is the first module, and there's some general information here. At the start of each one of these modules, there'll be this screen that basically provides you information on how to play back these lectures. In addition, there'll be the readings or the quizzes or additional assignments that are due at the same time that these slides are being expected to be listened to or gone over according to the syllabus. So in this first part of the introduction, I'm going to be going over some general information about the course and myself. So as I said, this is Psych 320, Industrial Organizational Psychology, and industrial organizational psychology in itself is a very interesting field. It's a very broad field, and it's a very applied field. So I'm going to hopefully convince you over the next 4 weeks of this class about how interesting it is. But as far as how broad it is, the reason that it's broad is it's one of the few areas of psychology that actively draws from all of the other areas. So industrial organizational psychology draws heavily from social psychology, clinical psychology, cognitive psychology, learning and behavior psychology, because it's about applying psychology. So psychology is, in its most broad definition, the scientific study of human behavior. And that incorporates an enormous amount of science, an enormous amount of areas. So cognitive psychology focuses on our thought processes, our judgment and decision making. Social psychology focuses on how we behave in groups and around others, or when we believe that we're around others. In other words, how the situation impacts our behavior. Clinical psychology looks at how to actually measure and define traits within people. Personality psychology, for instance, also looks at that. It also looks for deviant behavior, but also positive behavior. So like, there's an entire field of positive psychology. Learning and behavior looks at how people learn, how they actually change their behavior, and ways to get people to change their behaviors. So all of these are of use in the workplace. Most people are employed, especially adults, and most adults spend approximately somewhere between 6 to 8 hours a day during the work week at work. So work is a large portion of the amount of time we spend in our day, and it's also a major part of often our self-identity, how we define ourselves. We often define ourselves by our careers, by our occupations. So, as I said, industrial organizational psychology is very broad as it draws from multiple areas of psychology. It is also very applied in that its main focus is not necessarily in building broad theories of human behavior, but applying pre-existing theories of human behavior to the workplace in a way that both improves the individual's experience of work, but also improves the organization's performance at work. Now, before I move on to talk a little bit about myself and the course, I also want to just take a few moments to dissect what the actual name industrial organizational psychology represents. Industrial organizational psychology can broadly be broken up into 3 domains or 3 fields. We're going to talk mainly about 2 of those, and those are the ones that are actually in the name. And that's industrial psychology, sometimes referred to as personnel psychology, and organizational psychology. There is a 3rd field of IO psychology called human factors, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. It's more tied to engineering. Basically, it's really focused on human technology or human-machine interfacing and increasing or making the behaviors of people better in the workplace based on how they interact with their machines and their technology. So industrial organizational. So the industrial side is going to be mainly focused on how to actually improve productivity. It's going to focus on selection. It's going to focus on organizational outcomes. How do you reduce turnover? How do you increase not job satisfaction, but increase productivity and performance? How do you measure performance? That's very I side. And IO psychologists that are practicing the field will often define themselves as either being I side or O side IO psychologists. So we're trained broadly in both fields, but we tend to specialize. The O side is more about the actual people once they're in organizations. So the O side is much more likely to be looking at how groups and teams work together, how leadership occurs in an organization, what's the culture of an organization and how to change that. Job satisfaction is a very strong part. Work and stress, work-family balance are all issues on the organizational side. I tend to do work in both of these, so I am an industrial organizational psychologist. I am the director of the Industrial Organizational Psychology program here at SIUE. And my focus in when I'm teaching is I teach both I-side and O-side classes. My research tends to be more O-side. I tend to look at research that's focused on stereotypes in the workplace and how to actually deal with kind of the social aspects of organizations. However, as a practitioner, so in addition to being a faculty member, I do actually do a fair amount of consulting for organizations. Most of my consulting is more focused on selection and measurement, which is very I-side. So let me introduce myself. My name is Joel Nadler. I have a PhD in applied psychology with a specialization in industrial organizational psychology. I list my office here. This is a completely online course, though there are going to be times where I'll be in my office. It is on the syllabus. On Tuesdays from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. this entire 4-week break, I will be physically on campus if someone wants to meet. My phone number is listed there, but the best way to get a hold of me is either through Blackboard. There is discussion boards already set up. Or through email, jnadler@siu.edu. I am going to talk a little bit more about myself. The picture I have up there is me in my office. It's kind of my professional PhD headshot. But I've also been told a lot of times that, you know, it's hard to tell me apart from a certain famous person, and I understand the comparisons, but hopefully we'll be able to move past that. So there's my attempt at an online audio joke. So anyway, I was born in Benton, Illinois, so Southern Illinois has been my home for quite a while. I've actually left Southern Illinois for quite a few years and have lived in multiple locations across the United States. I've traveled extensively outside of the United States, and when it was time to go to graduate school, where I was accepted was SIUC in Carbondale, so back to Southern Illinois. And when I finished my PhD in IO psychology, I went on the job market and applied everywhere, including international. I actually interviewed for a job in Singapore. I also interviewed for a job in the Middle East in Qatar. The job offer I got was Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, also technically still in Southern Illinois. So there seems to be something about my life that says that I'm not supposed to leave this part of Illinois. I'm a big music fan. I like all types of music. I spend a lot of time going to concerts and going to see new and upcoming bands. As I said, most of my research is the study of social roles in the workplace, and as I said, my PhD is in applied psychology with a focus on industrial organizational psychology. I just have kind of a potpourri of pictures here, various elements of things that just kind of occurred to me randomly that I tend to like. If you have any questions about these, feel free on the discussion boards or question board to post a question about them. And there's clearly not everything about me. It's just kind of a snapshot of some things about my life. So, course introduction. So the only thing I really want to talk about in this part one of the first set of lectures is, generally speaking, the structure of this course. So it is a 4-week course. It is a very time-intensive course. So this is normally would be taught, like any college 300 level course, over approximately 16 weeks. So you can kind of tell that in a standard week of school, you usually end up basically going to class twice, and that would be about 6 or 7 hours. So if we look at that, so if you have a class that goes 16 weeks, that means there's 32 times that you're going to be in class. Well, in this class, you're going to be in class 16 times, so each day is the equivalent of a week. So it's very important to stay up to date with this class. The quizzes are assigned for each and every lecture and reading of those 16 days. They'll be up for approximately a little over 24 hours. They'll usually post in the morning of the day that the lecture and the reading is assigned, and they'll be up all the way through midnight of the next day. The reason this due date is here is there really would be no way to learn this material by cramming it all in at the end. So I have purposely set this up. There is breaks in the syllabus for Christmas. There's breaks in the syllabus for New Year's. I'm not expecting people to be doing work over the holidays, but within those days that aren't holidays, there's assignments almost every single day, and you'll see that throughout the weekdays. And again, there's no assignments necessarily over the weekend, other than occasionally writing assignments that you might be wanting to work on. So, the course materials and resources are all on Blackboard. On Blackboard, you're going to find multiple resources, including the slides without audio, also these slides with audio, and also I will be posting occasionally short videos of me talking about kind of the key points of each one of the lectures. The course description and objectives, all of this is on the syllabus, and the syllabus also has basically a non-interactive version. This is the syllabus itself, but I've also prepared a walkthrough of the syllabus where I go through, much like this one, and provide audio commentary on all the elements of that syllabus. Make sure you go fully through that syllabus and see everything that's involved. I've done everything I can to make it available, to kind of make it clear what's due, when it's due, and how it's due. Every one of these slides is going to have reminders of what's actually involved. The folders themselves have reminders of what are due. You'll be getting email reminders through Blackboard of what's due and when, and hopefully this will make it easier for everyone. Attendance is completely up to you. There is no live portion of this class. Everything is pre-prepared and has been uploaded. I'll be uploading lectures throughout the semester, but I plan to stay at least a week ahead so that you can listen ahead if you want as you go through this class. As far as makeup policies, so the assignments, there's discussion boards, there's quizzes, and there's papers. There is no makeup for the paper. There is 4 writing assignments. They're due approximately once a week. Those need to be done, and if you don't do one, that's a 0. I will allow up to 2 times that you miss a quiz. In other words, you don't get it done by the time it's due, or a discussion. So that's 2 times that you miss a discussion or a quiz. Total of 2. So it could be 2 quizzes, 2 discussions, a quiz, and a discussion. If you miss those, they're going to be 0s, but there is a way to make up that 0. By the end of the semester, you can turn in a literature review. So there'll be about 4 or 5 articles that I'm going to post up on Blackboard. What you do to do a makeup is that you simply read the article and give me an approximately 2-page double-spaced write-up and summary. And that would count in the place of either a quiz or a discussion that you had missed. So the main gradable portions of this class are the quizzes. There's 1 per day, so there's 16 lectures, 16 chapters due, and there's 16 quizzes. The discussion sections, there's 5 discussions, and then finally the project. It's 1 project, but it's been broken up into 4 shorter parts to make it easier to do throughout the semester. So, the readings and schedule, as I said, the schedule is very tight. Look closely at that syllabus. I strongly suggest that you keep up with the readings as well. These lectures are meant to supplement the readings. The book is a requirement. On the quizzes, you will notice that there are items not only that draw from these lectures, but there are items that sometimes are drawn from the text, and sometimes they're noted. There are quiz questions that will say, according to the text, but sometimes they'll just be broad questions that are better described in the text. So the quizzes are assuming that you have both gone through the slides, listened to my lectures, and have also read the book. The quizzes are open booked and they aren't timed, so they are set up to where you can have resources in front of you, because I'm looking at the quizzes as more of a way to reinforce key points that I'm hoping that you're learning through this class. And the syllabus, of course, as any course, has information about academic integrity. This is an online course. There is built-in systems within Blackboard that will be looking for plagiarism. So when you're turning in assignments, they will be subjected to evaluation by Turnitin.com. And also, there is tracking mechanisms to make sure that people aren't doing other people's work. So I strongly suggest that even though we're not meeting in person, that you keep up your academic integrity. If you have any disabilities or any issues with this course, of course, reach out to me, and there's also disability services, and that information is also listed in the syllabus, as with the discrimination policy. So a part of this course is discussion boards. I strongly encourage you to share your minds, share your thoughts, share your opinions, but also be a little mindful of the opinions and sensitivities of others. And if there is something on the discussion boards that you find is discriminatory or inflammatory or insultive to you, I strongly encourage you to make me aware of it, let me know, talk to me about it. So a lot of times when people are offended, they often don't actually tell someone they're offended, and there's no way for us to tell. And also, if you hear me say something that you find a little bit off or a little bit inappropriate, I encourage you to let me know. And I've had students call me on things in the past, and more often than not, I've agreed with them and said, you're right, that was a little over the line. I tend to pretty much just kind of talk my mind. A lot of people that know me don't think that I have a lot of filters, and that's somewhat true. And it wouldn't surprise me if I say a joke or make a reference or come up with an example that's a little bit off color at some point. So if you catch one of these and you think it's wrong, let me know. So that's the end for this first introduction to the lectures, and there's still some more modules to listen to about this first reading, and they're in separate sections, and I look forward to talking at you in the future.